Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, December 7th. As we always do, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up is a request by Irish Grand LLC for a common victualer's license to operate at 1185 Washington Street. You, come on up. Introduce yourself to the...
No street right. I had to have surgery today earlier on a couple of hours, so...
Well, welcome.
I'm half here. My name is Finbar Kirkham, owner of Irish Grande, for the record.
Great. Aoife, are you happy with all the paperwork?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for Irish Grande LLC for a common victual license to operate at 1185 Washington Street.
Second?
So a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. Good luck.
Yep.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Good luck.
Go home and get in bed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, Chief Tim Bailey with a quarterly report. Welcome.
Good evening. The last time I was here was on September 14th. Since then, we close out our numbers at the end of the year, so we've got about 25, 30 days left in the year. Up to this point, we've done 4,035 calls, emergency calls, which is the first time we've ever crested over 4,000. We're averaging about 11.8 per day. If you take that number and do it for the rest of the year, we'll be on pace for about 4,300 emergency calls. To date, we've done 3,623 inspections and permits for a total of 7,658 calls for service, or 22.4 per day. That leads me to the handout that I gave you earlier. It's just a different way of showing you the graphic of what our call volume is. So the red circles are all emergency calls on any given day, and the circles are inspections that were done on those days. And the in-basket is, that you see on there, that little basket, is permits that were done on those particular days. So just to give you a different feel for the numbers that I throw at you by being able to see them visually. That's what I try to do with that. Our volume continues to increase. We're up 19%, or 643 calls in the first 341 days of this year as compared to last year. In the ambulance, the current ambulance account stands at $2,290,319. Fire prevention, our new fire prevention officer has completed the Fire Prevention Officer 1 class, which was 80 hours. He is now credentialed to the NFPA standard of 1031, which is the professional qualification for fire inspector and plan examiner for Fire Inspector 1. And he's working out fantastic in that position. On the budget, we're okay at this time. However, we are watching it closely. We do have several things in the mix that are making it challenging. We have 3 going to the academy on December 20th. They'll be graduating on March 4th. I have 1 currently enrolled in the academy for the April 11th class, which will be graduating on June 24th. I still have 2 hires that we hired a couple months ago that are active in the PAT process, which is needed in order to get them into the academy. They are testing hopefully next week. We've been working with them to get them so that they will pass that PAT. I currently have 2 vacancies. One of the candidates that we had failed the PAT, and I had a resignation in October of firefighter Keith Hamilton, who left our department to go to Manchester, New Hampshire. I have 1 long-term IOD still in process who's still on the books. So currently that leaves us with 1 8-person group and 3 9-person groups operating out of both stations. On the Capitol, the 2 engines that were approved as part of the capital have been ordered. There's ordered, and it's a 550-day delivery. Hopefully we can get them a little bit sooner, but that is what the contract states. Turnout gear from Capitol is in process. The thermal cameras were ordered. The pickup truck is a little bit of a glitch, and we're working through that process now in order to get a response-type vehicle that is that pickup truck. It's been very difficult to find. We did find a few of them in the state of Iowa, and we're working with our vendor to see if they can somehow get them here so we can go through the process. So that is still very much in process. The UPS batteries is in process and was actually finalized today, so that'll be going out tomorrow or Thursday. The portable radios are in the same boat. They came in higher than expected. We have been able to pare down that a little bit with some of the other things that we had with that, so that we're trying to get under the amount, and that should be going out in the next week or so. I was asked to look into the ambulance. The ambulance, if we were to order, it would be 365 to 400 days out, and that would be at approximately $400,000. That is not in the pipeline yet. That would have to be approved as a capital expenditure, but it was something that we had talked about a few weeks ago. On grants, we've applied for the firefighter safety and equipment grant. That was due today and went out today. We're eligible for $19,000 and we're asking for $13,000. It's a very competitive process. We're looking to replace our combustible gas and CO monitoring devices with that grant. We're also applying for the AFG grant, which will have a 10% match. That is open currently and has until the 17th for us to get that in. We're looking at some options for stuff to put in for that that we may need for equipment. The SAFER grant, which we had last year and we were not successful in receiving, will be opening soon again. There's an extra $100 million in that program this year, and they're saying to us that the program will still be at the same levels that it was last year, where there will be no match for the first 3 years. There's also a fire prevention grant, which we've never applied for in the past, that we are looking at. That too will be opening up soon. That grant is very specific, though, in that it has to be for programming. It cannot be for personnel. So we're looking into possibly applying for that, but we're not 100% sure on that one yet. On the training end of things, all the EMTs finished up their EMS refresher, which is mandated every 2 years. We've had med flight training that started this past week and is continuing over the next 3 weeks. We had harassment and discrimination training for the entire department, including all administrative staff and my administrative assistant. And for those that didn't make it in, the new hires will be holding another one in the early spring to make it sure that everyone is up to speed with that. Building familiarization at the Walpole Mall in Hollingsworth and Vos. One of those was done jointly with the Norwood Fire Department, which was Hollingsworth and Vos, as they are now on the line box for responses to Hollingsworth and Vos with us. And over the past 2 weeks, we finished the emergency vehicle operation training program, which was a hands-on and classroom portion of the training. They had us driving through cones and different obstacles to improve our driving skills. On personnel, as I mentioned, I think I've touched on most of it. Firefighter Hamilton resigned. I have the 3 going December to March, 1 in April, 2 in process, 1 injury that's still hanging out there in the balance. We're trying to help him get through the process of the next step. So, and I'll entertain any questions you may have.
I'll start off by saying I noticed that Norwood Hospital did a ceremonial groundbreaking.
Yes, they did.
So that's a great thing that they're committed to rebuild, and they're getting the process going, so
It is very
that's
good
good.
news.
Still gonna take years, so that's
Yes.
unfortunate. Let me open it up to any other comments or questions.
I do. I have one.
Ben?
Yeah, Chief, you mentioned the 2 folks who are going through the PAT training. Is it going to be possible, you think, to get them into the June academy?
I'm hoping I can get him into that April with the June finish, but
Right.
I'm not sure at this
Not
point.
clear. Okay. Thanks.
So can you just run the numbers for us in terms of how many you've got on staff right now, what you're authorized for and all that? Just,
So we currently have 1 group that's at 8 and the other 2 groups are at 9. Our minimum right now, as set by the board, is 9. So I'm filling basically all the positions at man for man, and 1 group I'm filling 2 slots to get to that point. And until such time as I get the new people out in March, we'll be at that level. I don't, unless I have 2 vacancies that we've held off on hiring, unless we hire someone that's fully trained and at the medic level, that won't be changing anytime soon.
are you trying to do that?
We are actively trying to find applicants. The applicant pool is very thin, and we're all competing for the same people, so we haven't had any that have come through recently that fit that bill. And I can't really take on any others that are in training right now, because it doesn't, I have no mechanism to bring them on right now, so.
So I'm just thinking back to when we had the planning session a few weeks ago, the workshop, and our discussions around, first getting up to full staff and what that's gonna look like, and then you had the challenge around getting the tower truck manned, and we wanted to talk about some options around that. So have you put any thought into that since that discussion?
Yes, I have. So our staffing will be, once we get everyone that we currently have on the books into their positions, we'll be at 11 per group.
Yeah. So it'll be up to the full 44.
That is correct. Beyond that, all I put into the budget was the 44, so.
And what's the date that you have in mind for getting to the full 44?
It won't be till after the fiscal year starts in July.
Yeah.
If I'm fortunate enough to get all those folks into the April Academy and get them out June 24th, it'll be a week prior to that start.
So we had thought of, is there a way to accelerate some of the hiring, knowing that you might actually go over, for periods of time, but just given how hard it is to find qualified candidates and the fact that you keep losing people, to try to get ahead of that a little bit and not being constantly chasing it. Have you got any thoughts on how to go about that?
We're trying to find people to fill the 2 slots that we currently have open, so beyond that, I don't.
Is there such a thing as, I don't know, like when we just did the police chief search, we had a recruiter. Are there any firefighter recruiting organizations that we could talk to?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I can look into that for you.
Yeah.
So like the firemen, essentially, they're taking them from other towns is what you're looking at, because otherwise.
If they come trained, they're coming from other towns.
Right, so,
Or I'm sorry,
Yeah,
or
you-
from out of state,
right,
and they meet the requirement, if we were able to bring them right on, they meet the requirements of being pro board certified firefighter 1, 2, and a nationally certified medic.
right, like people go through fire academies, become firemen, and they're usually sponsored by a town, so it's not like there's a lot of them hanging out there.
So in Massachusetts, you're not allowed to self-sponsor. So we can't, unlike the police, we're not allowed to have someone just go to the academy to be ready to get hired by anyone else.
Right,
They
and then-
have to be appointed by a municipality in order to go to the fire academy.
And our salary isn't one of the towns that people jump to because it's just lateral.
Right.
Right, it's not like, there's some towns that are considered towns that are paid higher, so then some younger guys will look to go and move towards those towns. But as opposed to, it would just be a lateral move because maybe it's somebody that wants to move home, come
we've
back to
had that.
Walpole or something like, and we've had that. Just like we've had some leave that wanted to go to Foxborough because they wanted to
Correct.
go back home. But that's what makes it very
The
challenging.
law with Foxborough is the stadium. There's a lot of guys that like that idea of
Details.
being able to work the stadium events. So I don't have that lure, so.
We're glad.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'd say thanks a lot. Appreciate the update.
Great, thank you.
Yep. We have a little bit of time before open forum. Do we want to take on some new business? How about item 1, license review and vote for weekday and Sunday entertainment, section 15 off premises, all alcohol and malt, farmers winery pouring, section 12 club, all alcohol. Aoife, are you happy with all the paperwork?
Yes, every alcohol establishment has sent in their renewal, so we're.
They have, okay.
Yeah, so we're good to go.
Any other questions by the board? I'd entertain a motion. Nancy?
One quick question, are all of them operating?
So the only one that's not operating is the Key High, but because you voted to continue their hearing, they technically have to renew
Renew.
their license in order to still hold it to continue the hearing.
Okay. I'll make a motion to renew the 2022 weekday and Sunday entertainment, section 15 off-premise, all alcohol and wine and malt beverages, farmers winery pouring permit, and section 12 club, all alcohol, wine, and malt beverage with the common vicular license as listed in the document attached, and have the board's official signatures digitally scanned.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. How about the next item?
I'll make a motion to award design contract to Green International Affiliates, Inc. for inventory and asset management study of the town's bridge and culverts in the amount of $57,700, and authorize the town administrator to execute the documents necessary to complete the award.
Second?
So a motion and a second. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, just that Carl's been working pretty hard on this one. This is under the allotment. I believe we had 60,000 approved at town meeting. It's under the allotment. He solicited a couple of proposals. This was the one he was most comfortable with, and I recommend moving forward. He's already started working with them for the most part, so.
Can I ask maybe Kyle or Jim, is this connected to the Fuss and O'Neill report that the Conservation Commission went through earlier this year and had approved? So they've identified sort of the 10 biggest needs in our culverts, from what I understand, and what needs attention.
Good evening to the Chair, Carl Bald of Town Engineer. And there is a little bit of overlap between the Fuss and O'Neill and the climate resiliency study, because there's actually a little bit of confusion about what a bridge and a culvert is. There definitely is some crossover there. So a few of the culverts on that study are in this list, and the title culvert is in this in this analysis, but it really is meant to focus on bridges. Now, some culverts are bridges. Virtually all of ours carry water underneath our roads. So, you know, where does a culvert stop and a bridge start? So
What would we, ask a question, Kyle? So what will we do with the results of this study? How will we use it?
Well, essentially, it's meant to combine a whole myriad of information into a plan to go forward and a priority to go forward, with some idea of what costs are necessary to move them into design and into capital.
So we'll take a look at all the bridges, all the culverts in town?
All the bridges.
All the bridges only, okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay, and then we'll use that information to identify what needs to be repaired or fixed or replaced.
Correct. For instance, some of them are going to need just basic maintenance and small repairs, and some of them may be more substantial. And when you think of substantial, take a look at that stone arch bridge over the Neponset in East Walpole.
Yeah,
There'll be some money that you'll be required to spend in the future.
sure. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
I'll make a motion to appoint Joseph Mahoney to the Town Forest Committee as an associate member.
Second?
Are you Joseph Mahoney? Please come up. Yep,
Sorry.
welcome.
I might withdraw my appointment, apply for a plan.
Good.
Both. Welcome. So we've read your information. Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
No, I'm just happy to do what I can to give back to the town. Town's been awfully good to us. Coached all the teams for a while, coached Babe Ruth for years until there was no more Babe Ruth. And so now looking for some other way to give.
Great, we appreciate that. You know, one of the things I've said many times is, you know, one of the great things about Walpole is the number of people who are willing to volunteer their time to make Walpole a great place. So appreciate that, and I'll say thank you. Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let me do the gifts.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to accept with gratitude the following donations: multiple donors to the Recreation Smiling Eyes Financial Assistance, the Veteran Service Committee Council on Aging Gifts, Veteran Appreciation Event, and the AFSCME Local 1957 to the Veteran Service Gifts. I'll do that one.
Yeah, second. Thank you, Eva.
Yeah.
So you want to stop there?
And I'll do the next one, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion. Did we have a second?
Yes.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I'll make another motion to accept with gratitude the following donation: Friends of St. Patrick to the Recreation Smiling Eyes Financial Assistance, $3,000.
I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Jim, since you're sitting right here and you're involved with the Friends of St. Patrick, could you talk a little bit about the celebration this year for St. Patrick's Day?
Sure, we're starting it up again. It's been a 2-year hiatus, and we're really excited that we're going to be doing the Friends of St. Patrick event again in March 2022. It'll be on March 11th, which is the Friday before St. Patrick's Day, which it always is. Jim Brady is our Person of the Year. We're very excited about that. Again, for this is the 3rd year in a row for those of you who are keeping track at home. So, yes, we're really excited about that. The event is going to be at Luciano's Lake Pearl this year. The Dimitri's closed, unfortunately, during the COVID situation, so we aren't going to be able to go back there this year. But same thing, we'll do the parade, we'll do the event down at Luciano's Lake Pearl. We'll come back uptown, and we're planning on running trolleys and all the things that we usually do. So it's going to be a great event, and we hope people can make it.
Yeah, it's always a great event and a great fundraiser,
Yeah,
so
it really is.
thanks for the update.
You bet.
With the time being after 7:20, is there anybody here who would like to speak at open
vote?
forum?
Did we,
Yeah.
we made the votes?
We did vote, and then I asked Jim after the
okay.
vote, sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
There's nobody who has an interest in speaking at open forum, so we'll continue on. Next item is discussion and vote to appoint the Town of Walpole Police Chief. So I'm gonna repeat the last thing I said at our last meeting, which was I thought that we had 2 great candidates. It was an extensive process that started 5 or 6 months ago, 33 applicants. It was whittled down to a smaller group. There was an assessment center done by chiefs. And then we, as a board, did interviews with the 2 finalists last week. So how about if I go around the room and we'll see, Glenn, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say briefly, my comment is it's been a long, thorough process. I'm very happy with the work that the police search selection committee did to whittle down the candidates into some really good finalists. To me, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to vote for Chief Rich Kelleher to be the next chief. He's very deserving. He brings a young perspective. He's going to take our department to the next level, bring in some new ideas in a mix with the current path that the department's on. And I think it'll be great. I'm excited for him and for the town to be our next chief.
Great, thank you. Ben?
Sure, yeah, I would just echo what you said, Mark, in terms of how lengthy and comprehensive the process has been. And I really feel like we've done it justice. There's a lot of people, other residents, department heads from the town that took part in the search committee. And I think we've really done the process justice in its thoroughness and how we've, taken advantage of a lot of input from various sources. So I feel very comfortable with that. And I think that it just so happens to be a really pivotal point in policing in general, certainly with the town of Walpole. And so I think that, the person that we select is going to have to be able to lead that transition and is going to have to be an effective communicator and leader. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Jim?
Yeah, so would agree with both Glenn and Ben in their comments thus far. I'd add to it that I think we had some great candidates, and I think the final 2 that were suggested to us by the screening committee were both really well qualified, and that came through in the chief assessment that was done. So I agree with, Ben, your point that we did a thorough process here. And the fact that we had 2 really qualified candidates is really, really important. We also had the advantage of, the lengthiness of the process, which allowed us to have the deputy chief, Rich Kelleher, act as interim chief for many months, 5, I think, maybe 6. And during that time, we got a chance to observe Rich as acting chief, and I think he did a fine job. And so that gives me a lot of confidence just watching what he was able to accomplish in the course of those months. He's also been with us for 14 years, so in a way, it's been a 14-year interview, is the way I look at it. So we know a lot about Rich, we understand his character, we know his capabilities, he knows the town. I think he's the right person for the job, and I intend to support Rich as well. Thanks,
Great,
Mike.
thanks, Jim.
I'm abstaining.
So I also agree. I think Rich will be a great chief. I've enjoyed being able to watch him work over the last 5 or 6 months and work through a number of issues. Walpole's a very active town. There's always a lot going on. And it's been great to see him deal with the issues that need to be dealt with and how he deals with them. I also agree with what Ben said, is I think that he'll be a young chief, and I think he's very open to sort of modern-day policing, and I think that'll be a good thing for the town of Walpole. I know he's spent a lot of time over the years that he's been here, reaching out, getting to know all sorts of people and all sorts of groups in the town of Walpole, and I think that's a great thing. So, Jim, I'd entertain a motion.
Sure. So, motion to appoint Richard M. Kelleher as the Town of Walpole Police Chief, subject to negotiations between Mr. Kelleher and the Town Administrator and Select Board Chair, and ratification by the Select Board at their next meeting.
So I'll second that. Any final comments? We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. Can we do minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for November 9th, 16th, and 23rd of 2021 as presented in our packet.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Jim, Town Administrator's update?
Sure, just a few things. FY '23 budget, most of the departments have submitted their budget into Munis. Waiting for just a couple of my budgets being a few of them. I met with school officials today. They've started to work on their various budgets with the principals and the school committee. So I'm hoping they'll get something into us, probably early January sometime after they go through their budget hearings. I expect that I'll have a working draft sometime in early January, possibly look to have a work session with the board on January 11th or 18th for just a draft. The charter requires me to present a balanced budget. I believe it's the first Monday of February, so my game plan is to do it before then. Obviously, that always happens to coincide with the Super Bowl, so I hate having people come in on the Monday after the Super Bowl to listen to me talk about the budget. So more to come on that, but if the board is okay, I'd like to try to schedule something either the 11th or the 18th, just so I can get some feedback before I finalize everything. I'm sure you'll want to look at the revenue numbers that I've plugged in. Give me some feedback on that, and the different fire department, police department, some of the changes we've made there. DPW, I know Rick has some requests in, so we'll go from there. 300th anniversary committee, the committee met this evening. I was down with them earlier. They've started to kick around some ideas about some events that are going to be scheduled. They're actually going to put out a citizen survey to solicit some input on some of the events that are being held and some ideas. They're just trying to get general ideas. They're talking about whether or not to incorporate versus just accept money in as a gift if someone was to buy something. So I'm actually coordinating with, I think, Katie Turco-Beatty, Mr. Hagler, and I think a few others on that committee with our auditors to kind of advise them as to what their best options are when it comes to that stuff. They have a lot of things planned, parade, fireworks, gala. We've kicked around those ideas, so a lot more to come on this, but it's good to see them making some progress. And lastly, the middle school project update. The contract amendments for the design team and the owner's project manager are just about finalized. Council got back to me with some comments. I have to go through those. I believe when the board voted on this, you voted to authorize me to sign and sign all the contract documents, but they are significant sized contracts. One, I think with the OPM, it's about 1.2 million, and I think with the design team, it's about 9 or so million. I would like to bring those back before the board, review them with you, probably have Brian in here too, and just go over everything. Just it's $11 million almost there, so
Sure.
I want to
Well,
make
that's a
sure
great idea.
everyone's comfortable with it and talk through it, and we can talk about the progress that's being made on this. So that's about it. So
Great. How are things progressing for the borrowing? Starting to get all that data together?
starting to get all of it. Jody is doing a heck of a job putting together all the documents. She just actually gave me her final list of projects that are ongoing in Walpole, and I actually gave it to Jim Crowley and Bob down in the building department to give it one final look for some feedback. So we're on track to still go out for that mid-January. I think actually we're being interviewed on January 4th, so that's already been set up to coincide likely with your January 11th meeting. So everything's still on track.
Any comments or questions for Jim? Thanks for the update.
Thanks.
I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.